somewhat present. I'm gonna do it like this. Okay. All right. Honestly, my next presentation might be about how to solve this in a better way.
Yes, we should definitely do that.
Yeah. Okay, who am I? You guys know me, Jeroen, Domburg, TM, etc. Okay, so Hackaday sometimes has a thing where they show new component. This is a fairly old one, 6 years old, but I kind of remembered it. They had these nice RGB w8.11 LEDs that we all know and love, but these ones are 2 by 2 millimeter, and I thought, that's awesome. I have no idea what I'm going to need that for, but that's awesome. So a few years later, I had to order a bunch of LEDs, and they also had that. And I mean, you know, how can I resist? I still didn't know what to use them for, but that's great. And then a while later, I kind of was a bit, my job is sometimes very software-y. What I do at home might also just be sitting behind a computer and pressing buttons. So at some point I was like, I wanna make something physical and not just, go in KiCad and draw something and then ship it off to China. No, I wanna actually put something together. And this is a nice thing. This is a dry tree-like thing that has LEDs in there. You can get these commercial and they're fairly big. And I don't like them fairly big, but I had a bunch of tiny LEDs. So, LEDs are like this. So I was looking, what do I need to do? What do I need to put together? WS2811, as you might know, you put power in here, you put ground in here. I like the projector at this. You put data in, and it sends data out there, and you connect that to the next LED, like this. So very simple, easy peasy. If you have a PCB, if you want to solder it like by hand, it's a pain in the ass because now you got to route like 4 wires to each and every LED. So fun, but how hard can it be? Well, 2 by 2 millimeters, pretty small. Like this is the reality of the thing. It is not big. So now I have this really fancy microscope that I can use to solder tiny things. And that thing is utterly unusable in this case, because it has a depth of field that is like yay, which is perfectly great if you have a flat PCB that doesn't go anywhere. You can just put it in the middle of the field of view and nothing's going on. If you shove half a tree under there, then everything's going to be out of focus. So no good. So I went back to the solution that I came up with like 20 years earlier, which is an old lens stolen from an old 8mm camera, I think. Been in my possession for like 25 years. There's more bits in my life where I owned that thing than it is that I did not own the thing. So next to that, obviously, small soldering iron tip because yeah. And then this is reworked wire, enameled wire. Like there is isolation on it. You heat it up, the isolation burns off. Really great if you make oopsies on PCBs. That's also the reason why this stuff is green. So use that, and then the way you solder this stuff, I figured out, is fairly simple. You take your wire, you put it somewhere in the neighborhood of the LED in a place where you hope that it connects to the right thing. And you take a bunch of flux, you apply it to it, then you kind of sort of put the soldering iron in the neighborhood, and then you check with your lens, and if you're lucky, then it actually got connected to the right pin and only to the right pin. So if not, rinse, repeat. If so, then just do the next one. So that is this is how I made the stem. You also need a stem, and I just took a bunch of Ethernet wire, took the green and the brown pairs, because obviously those connect the power up to the actual branches, so to say. And you also see a bunch of enameled wire. This thing is actually 4, well, if you include the PCB, you want 5 strings of LEDs. So the enameled wire are the data lines. The branches itself look like this. So you see the power running up here. And then there is, you see, like silver colored wire. That is like more solid stuff. That is both for the ground as well as to give the branches a little bit of stiffness. Aside from that, you see a whole bunch of red wire snaking around. That is your power, and the copper colored is your data. So that runs past all the LEDs. So obviously, I also needed a controller. So whipped up something quickly. It's nothing special. The main bit is so this is a power supply. It takes the incoming power because at that point I didn't know what to power it with. But the WS2811 really wants 5 volts to run from, because otherwise the color balance is going to be off and they're going to be unhappy. So this is a DC-DC converter that takes whatever comes in to 5 volts for the LEDs. Then we have the main processor, which is an ESP32C3, because I can get them for free. Yay. It actually gets the antenna stuff, etc. as well, which is kind of sort of because I thought I could put an antenna on there. Why not? This was actually the first PCB that I made with a loose chip. And I'm decently sure that antenna doesn't work at all. I actually made a scaling mistake. I wouldn't be surprised if the thing is optimized for 3 gigahertz instead of 2.4. Yeah. So this mesh of MOSFETs is purely to enable the LEDs, because the 5 volt is always on, but the LEDs, the w8.12 by itself have a really high quiescent current. They eat a lot of power even if they're off. So this is effectively just a MOSFET this is the MOSFET that turns them off, and this works as an inverter effectively. The other one is a thing to measure the battery power, which I didn't implement in software, so care. 4 LED strings all have the 5 volt and the data. The data comes directly from the ESP32. You're actually not supposed to do that because those LEDs aren't really happy with a 3.3 volt data input, but these things seem to work, so YOLO. There's a bunch of LEDs on the baseboard as well. Those were a lot easier to solder. Oh, and this is the PCB. And I hope you guys don't have OCD. So yeah, the idea was this thing is organic. PCB should also be organic. It's just placed randomly. I made sure that no component is at like 90 degrees, because you gotta be consistent.
Did you use that one plugin for KiCad? The one that melts the traces?
No, I think that was, this is made before that one got like, I made this a while ago. I also needed something to put it in, and you have these glass domes, and these ones are really interesting because they have LED lights in there, which normally I would find horrifying. I can't imagine that looks good. But the nice thing is, if they have LEDs, they also have a battery compartment, and that's something that I need. So, until, you put batteries in there, and then you drop the project for 1.5 years, and then batteries don't like that. So, yeah, then I did not have a battery compartment anymore. No worries, bunch of epoxy and some spare batteries. It'll be fine, she'll be fine. Okay, now on to the software. So if you have an LED strip like this, it's really easy to control. There are effectively a bunch of dots at a similar space. So like conceptually that maps to an array or like a line of pixels or whatever. So if you want to make an animation for this, you've got like millions of ways to do that. You can even open Photoshop and make a line and animate it, GIF something. In my particular case, the LEDs. The logical order has nothing to do with their physical place. So that makes it kind of hard to make good animations. So luckily we have something for that. So there's a little program out there. It's called MaryMapper, which is great. I love it. So it can make shit like this. I don't know what the reality is that goes along with this screenshot, unfortunately. Yeah, exactly. So the idea is MaryMapper is a Python thing. You first need to write the backend, which means that you need to implement effectively 3 Python functions. one that returns how many LEDs you're working with, the second one to set a certain LED to a certain color, and the third one to flush all the LEDs to whatever device you have attached. So I whipped up something quick and dirty that uses a USB port to do that. And then the mapper can control the LEDs. Great. Secondly, you take a webcam and you just point it at the thing and you start the thing. And it blinks every LED once. And at some point it's done. It's actually really fast. It does like 2 LEDs per second or something. And then you take your camera and you put it at another angle and rinse and repeat. And as soon as you've done 3 or 4 of those, then it suddenly starts outputting like a live 3D map of your camera positions as well as your LEDs.
Ooh.
And it just takes this information, spits it out in a CSV, and it's awesome. So how do I work with this? Well, I decided to not hand draw all my animations because I don't even have tooling for that. So I decided to do everything procedurally. And what does that mean? That means math. So, for instance, this function, this is a function that I use in order to, if all the leaves are green, then if a gust of wind is going through, you kind of sort of wanna make the leaves like flutter in the wind. So I thought that something like this looks nice if you do that. So what you do is you effectively have a sine function that goes on a certain front that becomes less in both directions. That is what the absolute here is good for. Here's the sine, that is the limit of it. And finally you have some sort of angle. And I put a standard P as x equals I and P equals x plus I there, and that gives you an angle of like 45 degrees. But if you mess around with sine and cosine, you can get like any angle that the gust goes through effectively. So if you take a bitmap like this and you draw this for all pixels in the bitmap, so for each xy for each pixel, then you get this. But if you get just a few random pixels, you kind of get this. That looks better in reality. The beamer here doesn't really help.
Yeah.
You can kind of sort of see the wind going through it. So the other thing, I wanted a squirrel. So how do you do a squirrel with an LED? Well, you just make the LED red rather than green. What does a squirrel do? Well, a squirrel tries to squirrel away like fruit. So I needed a fruit, which is this little pig bit. So how do you let a squirrel move naturally? Well, again, you kind of sort of need to think in 3D. You have these points, and the squirrel wants to go to the fruit, obviously. So it sets that as a target. Well, how does it get there? Well, you need an algorithm for it because it can't just jump immediately to the target. That would look, like crap. So what I do is I sort all the nearby branches in order of how close they are, and then I take the 3 closest one because those are probably the ones that the squirrel can jump to. And then I simply take the one that goes most in the direction of the target and I jump there. Rinse and repeat, because the branches are kind of sort of random. It kind of looks like the squirrel is taking a path that is randomish, but the jumps are usually believable. Like usually it jumps to the next branch rather than all the way to the other side of the tree. And eventually it gets the little bit of fruit and then it runs down again. So another thing that I wanted to do is like, so the idea is what I wanted to animate is like the 4 seasons, because you have a tree, you gotta do the 4 seasons, probably a law somewhere. So you also have to have snow. So how do you drop snow in a believable way? I can't just, take a packet of flour and shake it out. So my algorithm is I take a random point somewhere above the tree, like a virtual point. And then again, I calculate which of the branches is closest. And then the one that's closest goes white. It actually goes like a little bit more white, but just for illustration, this one goes entirely white. And then I repeat that. And again, I sort them all. But now one already is entirely white. So the snow needs to fall off, so to say. So I simply take the next one and I make that white. And by doing that, you get a really nice, like, snow drops on the top branches first and then slowly goes down effect. which I really like. I have no idea what this is. Do I have? Okay. It's supposed to be a demo here. Why is there no demo? Did I finish that? Right. Okay. Well, I'm gonna use the fact that this is a really large space. And I'm just gonna put it on the ground here. If you can't see it, you can zoom in by just pulling closer.
Doesn't look bad. Yeah.
Oh, the thing that I didn't tell is that the ESP32, like there is no off. The ESP32 is normally in deep sleep. I'll take the glass off because it reflects a bunch. I don't like it. Works better if you do this.
Probably use like plastic or something for the little shell.
Yeah, I don't know. That also kind of sort of.
Like,
Cool. Oh, nice. See, it's flickering in the wind.
Yeah. You can actually see, well, if you go on top of that, you can see that the wind has a certain direction as well. 3D-ish. It takes a random angle and blows through it that way. So this is spring. All the leaves are going green, obviously. After a bit, you'll see a bunch of fruit popping up.
Is it illegal?
actually, if you did detect like winds from any direction, you could have it in the LED as well. So there is some glows on it.
Yeah, no, I didn't do that. Plus, you know, the glass kind of sort of makes it hard.
Yeah, you'll see the tree will bear fruit after.
I don't see it. Yeah, that's the downside. It's procedural. It's random. So
Yes.
oh, there's the fruit, and there's the squirrel.
Yeah, the red color is the squirrel. Try to find it.
there's the squirrel.
And I took the fruit and it ran away.
Maybe another squirrel.
It's a very
Kids toy.
oblique electric video game.
True.
There's a squirrel, the red color is the squirrel. I was trying to find it.
I mean, I actually still need to tweak the. Yeah, found it and then it runs away.
I mean, with this kind of software, you can make it an LP matrix to do anything.
Yes, leak matrix.
Trying to find a possible leads.
Sparse.
So, yeah,
The one that is not in a certain order. It's just a bunch of random. So I still gotta tweak the fruit algorithm a little bit because it actually generates a few too many fruits.
Yeah.
It doesn't delete them at the end, so the squirrel has the problem that he has too much fruit. Oh, and now you see that it gets autumn, so all the leaves are slowly going yellow, and you'll see there was a gust of wind and that took down a bunch of leaves.
So nice. If they're yellow and there's a wind,
Yeah.
you kind of drop.
Just coming.
Yeah, there's still fruit.
Yeah.
The squirrels are really excited. Oh, it's all fruit left now. Squirrels coming back. Come with the fruit. Well, the nice thing about the fruit still being around is that you get to see the squirrels in action.
Yeah.
It's frozen fruit already. This is ice wine.
The squirrel will still come.
Drunk squirrel. Go home, squirrel. Drunk.
Isn't it? Eating spoiled fruit on the floor.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. Maybe I should let the leaves fall on the floor. The issue is the PCB is a later addition. It didn't need to take the LEDs there into account when I built it, so I can do a little bit more. I mean, it automatically does something already, like the snow already goes to the ground, and the squirrel also handles it automatically. Hey,
That's a leaf.
No leaves.
Yeah.
You have not seen what happens with these in winter, have you?
The
New tropical
the
leaves.
connection between these were based on the connections of the tree itself rather than like closest leaf, because some of them are disconnected.
yeah, it's not ideal. There's a bunch of
Yeah.
things.
No flowers.
The other thing is that the squirrel will never take the same branch twice. Yeah, for that. Okay. So that kind of is stuff that finds a path back. And that's it. That's the entire animation, and now you can press the button and get it again, but you get the same idea.
Cool, lovely.
So, oh, can you download it? I don't know. I imagine I got that question. Like, first of all, it's a lot of work, and second of all, the code is also very much handmade, as in the code consists of like a C file that is main.c that is
A sheet of things.
probably indicates something about the code quality. I'm not sure. If someone is really interested, I can share this, but I don't know if I want to make this public. I like this as my own project as well. The thing.
How long
Okay.
it take to build Raya all
I have no idea.
those months?
It's if you go and sit down and